to Black Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. We've got news for you. It's a big news day. Of course, first of all, happy that everybody's here, that we're alive, that we're well. It's a lot of stuff that's going on. Obviously, you know, since I've been back, we've been talking about COVID-19, the increase in cases, the concern with what is the variants in country. Yesterday, I failed to play. It played. I didn't hear it coming to the end of the show. The story of a young lady who was, you know, really just torn at the fact that she lost her mother and her brother. Speak with another family member, and the family is reeling from that loss. COVID-19 is decimating entire families. Well, today, as promised by the Prime Minister and also our competent authority, we had a COVID-19 press conference. So soon was today. And it was filled with interesting information. It was filled with information that I think is important for us to know. And obviously it's important for us to know. And I want to get your thoughts on it. The phone lines are open today. My good friend Sia and Yuri. Also yesterday, I must apologize. We had callers in yesterday. We had, I got one caller that came through. The other ones, I couldn't hear my callers. So I just assumed that they weren't there. And to come to find out at the end of the show, all of you on Radio Land can hear the callers, but I could not hear them. So apologies to my callers yesterday. But I want your thoughts on some of the announcements made by the Prime Minister today. Well, not the Prime Minister, I'm sorry, the Minister of Health today. So things that were of note, right? And my good friend, Sia Nuru, will be joining me on this Friday as we wrap up this week and what these things mean. Things that will get play are the restrictions for campaigns. We are now going back into we were always not lockdown. Lockdown is not the word. We always had curfew. So the curfews now are going to be just a little bit more aggressive, a little bit to what we're used to. We have certain restrictions on certain businesses, which are odd. The Minister of Health spoke on some things that I really wanted to commend the Ministry of Health for. So that there are things that are positive in this speech that really I was happy with. Let me tell you one of the first things I was happy with. The first thing I was happy with, ladies and gentlemen, was that we actually had a press conference. And it's so sad. It's like when you decide grateful for the water because they've been thirsty for so long, and you kind of forget in that instant that you've been deprived of it. That so the villainy of deprivation is gone just by the satisfaction of the thing. So the satisfaction of having information, learning what we knew, so that even certain things we knew and information that we need that's current. So we're getting information that is old today, current, the current information. Things like what is the Delta variant in country now? We don't know. We're getting that information. What we do know is the iota. I've never even heard of the iota strain. We know that we had 26 of the samples came back with the UK strain of the Delta variant. So those are some of the things that were said. But let me just get to it. So some things that really were good. And I'm not going to get to the restrictions yet. Sia will be joining me soon. Hello to everybody who's watching. Shout out to my folks who are watching from the Netherlands. We got folks that are followers of the show from the Netherlands. That's very entertaining. So it's so good to have everybody, you know, with us, watching online, of course, listening in your car. So things that were that I thought were interesting, right? That I thought the competent authority did well. Not competent authority. I keep giving, you know, the Minister of Health some extra. The Minister of Health that he shared on, right? So some of the data that he gave us at the beginning of his speech. We've got 110 newly confirmed cases of COVID-19. The majority of those cases are in New Providence, right? He spoke about the hospitalizations. We've got 23 moderately ill COVID-19 patients hospitalized in Grand Bahama Healthcare System, and then there are 2 patients currently in Grand Bahama. In New Providence, there are 20 hospitalized COVID-19 patients at Doctors Hospital. 13 are moderately ill, and 7 are currently in the intensive care unit. We've got 7 moderately ill at the South Beach Acute Care and Referral Center. Princess Margaret Hospital, there are 39 COVID-19 patients, 38 are moderately ill, and one patient is receiving care at the ICU. One person is also moderately ill. And so they go through this. We have a recovery rate of 87.68%. That sounds great to say that's the recovery rate. But we also have a huge death total, 280 deaths, 100 deaths from COVID-19 since the third wave. And that's a lot of people who've died in that short period of time. The short period of time, a lot of people have died. And that that shares with you that this is not well managed. We're not doing well in managing it. Resources are low. I spoke with persons within nursing. The young lady of 50 that passed away, that is the reason why we're 280, is a nurse, right? Frontline worker. These are people who are constantly putting their lives on the forefront, on the line. And one of the concerns that I have, is that, and you heard Dr. Dwayne Sands on the show earlier this week, what he expressed was that we don't have the same amount of people we had before on the front line. We don't have the same. The maternity ward, I was told, in PMH has had up to 11 staff out. This is what I was told by credible sources. Up to 11 staff out due to COVID. The nurse that passed away, she was an RN nurse in the maternity ward. The nurses there's another nurse who is in Grand Bahama in critical care, right? Critical in the ICU. They're losing people. We're losing people. And these are real people, real faces, real human beings. And, one of the things that hearing with the presser, the plan is let's get as much vaccines as we can and stem the tide. We're out of space. This is social distance and hope. Let's just everybody do your part. And then we're going to do restrictions. One of the things that was said is that there's not many imports, meaning there's not many of us who are coming or foreigners who are coming in and bringing the virus. But obviously there is community spread. So how did all of this start? And that was some of the things that we were listening for and to. But there's this issue with even in the maternity ward, right? That maternity, there's a lot of women coming in pregnant and positive. And that is causing its own level of outbreak. And this is very concerning to me because PMH was already having its challenges with safely delivering. And in recent months, especially in COVID times, we've heard so many sad stories. I had a mother on the show myself telling her story of how she lost her baby. I've had the mother and the husband and wife of the twins sharing their story of how they lost their twin boys. So it's very tragic. And so are pregnant during this time. Please continue to pray. Please continue to pray. Please take your vitamins. Please social distance. Please do not mess around, man. Don't mess around. This ain't the time, Says someone passing from COVID-19, the blame is the government. Why not place the blame where it should be of people failing to get vaccinated? And that's the problem. We play this blame game. That's a whole other series in space. But we have to do our part. And I'll tell you now, folks, it's the truth. It isn't a rumor. It isn't some sort of some sort of conspiracy. Persons who are vaccinated, this is true. Yes, they can give you COVID-19, but they are not the ones, majority, 99% of the time, sick, extremely ill, or dying in the hospital. This is data that's all across the globe. So the vaccine has proven viable to protect folks from death. And if you've seen or someone who's been in the hospital or you've lost someone, at some point you're going to say, I need another option. And that is an option. It is an option. You can choose to take it or not take it, but it is an option. And that is where the concern lies. How do we get the narrative to get people to understand that it is working? And that some fears, I had to tell someone the other day, they said, someone who has had COVID and was hospitalized. And their thing is, how do I know that the vaccine won't affect me years down the road? I said, well, what you do know is that COVID affected you today. Can your body afford for you to end up back in the hospital? Can it afford it? And so, look, this is one of those discussions that is going to be definitely have its impact on us. Discussions. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, C.A. Nuri is going to join me on the other side of the break. You're listening to The Hit Back with Nahaja Black, Guardian Radio, 96.9 FM. We'll be back right after this.
Enjoy an elevated mobile experience with BTC, giving you
unlimited talk for the best conversations, unlimited data for all your online fun,
and unlimited roaming to stay connected while overseas.
For just $50 per line.
Unlock unlimited mobile talk, data, and roaming when you sign up for BTC Superfast Fiber Internet with speed starting at 100 megabits per second. Enjoy more great savings and value. Upgrade or sign up today. Visit any BTC store or btcbahamas.com. Conditions apply.
Do you know you can get your business cards designed and printed for as low as 18 cents a card? If it's a poster you want, you can pay as little as $6 a square foot. If your print needs are short or long run, digital printing, wide format, or print consultation, call the best. Call Print Masters. Print Masters' goal is to provide its clients with the highest level of personal, professional service at an affordable price. Our state-of-the-art technology also makes working together efficient and easy. Laminations, business cards, flyers, posters, window and floor decals are just a few of the digitized print services offered at Print Masters.
Let Print Masters bring your masterpiece to life.
Located in the Nassau Guardian Building, telephone 302-2361.
This is Guardian Radio, your station for up-to-the-minute news, intelligent, interactive, and engaging conversation. 96.9 FM.
It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black.
And we're back. You're listening to The Hit Back with Nahaja Black, Guardian Radio, 96.9 FM. It's Friday, y'all. And this Friday has proven to be one filled with news. And the leading news today, COVID-19, officially, the third wave has now required that we have a quasi-lockdown. Things are going to shut down. Things are going to shut down. And to a certain extent. So we're going to talk about it. Let me get my good friend C.A. Nuri joining me on the show. C.A., welcome, buddy.
It's supposed to warn me when you turn on the camera, but that's okay. I'm doing well. It's going to be interesting having this discussion. It's a serious and sober discussion, and I think that the address by the Ministry of Health was long overdue. Mm-hmm. We were discussing our concerns, at least you have, on previous shows about the death rate, about the rise and increase in numbers, and what is the plan, especially after August 14th, when the emergency orders has expired. And we're still waiting on these discussions to be had and what is the way forward. And so I'm glad that we at least have information to hash out and so be able to explain things after that.
Yeah, and there was a lot of things that were said, but let's get to some of the restrictions, right? Some of the things for us to know, for you to know what are now the restrictions that are now upon us because of this increase in COVID-19. And just a note, something that was said that was interesting, right? You know, there's been a call for you to remove, please, if you have someone that's in the morgue that has passed away, please come and collect their bodies. I don't know why it took me aback. The capacity for the morgue is 73. They're now holding 275 bodies. When did that happen? Where was it before COVID, the numbers? And how did we get, like, how, where are they, how are you storing? If max capacity is 73, how are 275 people in us. That's
And that tells a tale, and it tells a tale that we need to be concerned about. And the tale is how did it happen? Why is it happening? And what can we do to solve it? And so far, they just told us that it exists, but we don't understand why, where, and where we going with it. Have we reached out to these people's families to say, well, I see you have your family member there, and I know you don't want them there forever. So there's definitely a reason. There's definitely a reason. I see my phone is ringing there, Nahaja. There's definitely a reason why these persons' loved ones are still remaining to the morgue. So we need to investigate why they have these things there.
Yeah. No, we have to investigate it. All right. So now let's get to some of the things that was said, right? Some of the things that was said would be, okay, breaking. So a curfew will be implemented between 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. That's not new for us. Curfew's been happening. The only difference is it moved from 10 to 11 p.m. That's not new. RT-PCR tests, right? RT-PCR tests will be required for travel to any of the family islands. This applies to people who are not fully vaccinated, right? So if you're flying to the family islands, if you're not fully vaccinated, you're going to require tests. Interesting that you need the RT-PCR tests inter-island and folks coming in country. Anyone?
A lot of double standards.
Okay, let me bring you back.
I'm sure there's a reason for that.
Hold on. You exist now. Let me bring you back. Okay, there I see.
I'm sure there's a reason for that. And the reason for that is there is pockets of outbreaks throughout the family islands. And we need to secure our family islands. With the not a need for persons who have been vaccinated to be tested and traversing our islands, even the home porting and the tourists in general, it is a concern moving forward regarding that.
Yeah. So then you have this, because I think it's weird. For me, it's weird. You have where PCR tests are needed inter-island, which is important. Right? Okay, fine. Let's get tested. But the coming in, and so I think that sticks with their narrative that they're not seeing any persons coming in. So it's no imported, very little imported COVID-19. So in essence, saying it ain't coming from the guests. Yeah. I don't know where it's coming from if it wasn't coming from the guests, but that's a whole other thing. And someone says Eleuthera is a hot spot. I can believe that. I believe there's a lot of things we're not being told that might help. So, one of those things is interesting. Someone says services are to be limited. Okay, so the next one is religious worship to be confined to 33%, right? So only 33% of, so we're going back to what we had. And I was surprised that this had to be said because I didn't know we moved away from 33%. I thought services were still at 33%. I know a lot of churches are still scheduling service. So this was surprising to me, 33%. I wonder what the church will say. Some pastors will say to this now. But and limited to an hour, 33% capacity, limited to 1 hour. So we're going back to that. That's that sort of lockdown or the wave, not lockdown, but the wave. So restrictions. No funerals or cremations services to be permitted indoors. Funerals to be held at graveside only, right? So only graveside where you have your funerals. And a maximum of 30 people are allowed at funeral services. Repasts are prohibited, so no more partying, no more grieving with entertainment, right? Or, with the libations. They didn't police this well the first 2 times. I feel like this is just a talk right now because I digress. Let me just move on. Funerals to be held at graveside only. A maximum of 30 people allowed to attend weddings, indoor or outdoor. So, oh man, damn you, COVID. Damn you. When people was, COVID. Getting married in this time. This is tough. Exercise groups are limited to 10 people. No sporting activities are allowed at this time. Professional athletes can continue to train. Dining is restricted to outdoor and takeaway. This restriction does not apply to hotels. If they ain't got it, no, nobody in the hotel got it. We don't have imports. It's all y'all outside the hotel. I wonder though, will Bahamians be allowed to eat in these indoor restaurants? Will we be allowed to dine in? Because I'm curious. And my least favorite, no spa services are allowed. Fascinating, eh? No spas, but you still could go to. Now listen, my beauty salon, my hairdresser. I need my hairdresser. I need her. She's important to me. I can't keep this color like this. So shout out to my hairdresser being open. But I also go to the salon. Who's been doing my nails? You know how these just got on. If this lockdown happens, and by the way, can I just say, my spa, Baja Retreat, everybody in there vaccinated. So how come everybody in there vaccinated? All us guests, all us, who are we? What are we again? What are we? Clients? Yeah? We got to do the heat check. Why? It feels like spas are being singled out. I'm just throwing this out here. In COVID time, I need my massage. I had a facial the other day. You know what the lady said when I had my facial? Just as a side note, I'm digressing here. This is a serious thing for me. I can't afford to lose Baja Retreat. I really can't. You know what the lady said to me? Nahaja, you have great skin. I said, that is why I come here. That is why I come here. Because you always lie so well. It's a powerful place. Can I just say I love Baja Retreat? But I ended up not liking the spa services not being allowed, especially when folks are vaccinated. So then it makes you ask the question, okay, the vaccine rules. We could campaign, and that's a whole other segment because we could touch that too, the campaign rules on the vaccines. And so what are your thoughts so far on those things?
Something needs to be done. We've been crying about a response, and the government has had a response. I'm not sure if the Minister of Health has the authority to make an announcement in terms of protocol and policy and laws. I know that is designated to the competent authority. And so I wait for the competent authority to ratify what the Minister of Health said today in order for it to be enacted to be law. That's right? True. Because, we're governed, what he says, and he hasn't said anything as yet, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm waiting for that. In terms of your spa, I understand you need your beauty looks, and that is important. I'm glad that the barber shops are not closed, and I guess we are the same type of risk as beauty salons and spas and stuff like that. But it is what it is, and crying about it makes no sense. You just need those persons in those places need a right to the competent authority, and we know that from history in the past that he yields. So he yields and change.
No, so he doesn't yield. He doesn't yield to the. Sorry, I was about to say the truth. I can't say the truth sometimes. It's election season. I can't say the truth. I got to say the truth later. He yields to a select few. You don't yield to a lot of
apply to the competent authority. That's all they need to do. Mr. Authority, we have everyone inside you vaccinated, so we straight. And you'll see that he would yield and say, yes, that makes sense. Go ahead and open up your business.
What happened? He yields to things that make sense?
Yes, what makes sense. Yes.
That's funny. You around here cracking the most jokes on a
good Friday. I'm serious.
That's why I bring you on, He said he yields when it
Yes. And I think you just need to write his office, and you'll see that the competent authority will adjust the pronouncements.
So he yields when it makes sense. That's powerful. I really wasn't ready for that one. You shook me. I'm shook. Because this is where it's interesting, right? So those are the restrictions. There's more because he went into campaigning, right? Trust me, it's vexing to me. I'm trying to understand the process. If you're vaccinated, you can, and also he did mention theaters. Theaters have to do 33% as well. Movie theaters, 33%. And they need to know that too, because some of them have been a little off with that number, right? Little off, like way off with that number. There's far more than that in theaters, but I digress. But the vaccinated thing here, for me, is a big deal, right? Because the Prime Minister makes this, there's a pandemic for the vaccinated. There's two types, right? So
two different types of pandemic.
And the unvaccinated. What I liked was that the Minister of Health made sure to stress that vaccinated persons can spread and have been spreading COVID-19. Fully vaccinated persons are getting COVID-19. They are finding, obviously, the data is showing that they will not be the ones, though. Majority of the time, 90% of the time, not the ones in critical condition. So that's the push for us getting vaccinated. The vaccination, or why the drive for the vaccination is so that majority of us will not end up in the hospital. Straight resources. We know we don't have the resources. So what comes to me with this whole thing is that you're kind of cherry picking where vaccinated people can benefit in this. If you're vaccinated, you can travel inter-island without the RT-PCR test. But we know that vaccinated people can carry the virus and share the virus. So you can travel inter-island without a PCR test or antigen test. But at the same time, if a staff of people are vaccinated, if the entire staff is vaccinated, the business can't be open. So it's weird. It's the rules. It's very confusing. What is the standard for vaccines in terms of businesses? If the business has all of its staff vaccinated, right? If a business says if we have a restaurant, all of the guests can come indoors if vaccinated. It's like the vaccine. I'm trying to figure out what it is, because if it can happen in the hotel, aren't Bahamians working in the hotel? So then Bahamians can still catch it from someone who's vaccinated in the hotel and bring it home to their Grammy. It's just I don't know how I don't understand a lot of it, but I know what they're trying to do. It's weird how they're picking it, in my estimation. And I wonder if they've thought it through how it even looks, because we're not even touched on the campaigning thing, and we're going to want to break in a minute and then come back. And we have Cassius Stewart, BDM leader. I want to get his thoughts on the campaigning side as well. But I'm not mad with them. I'm just confused by them. I think that's where I am. I'm confused by them.
And the situation is dynamic, and it's stay changing. And so I give them, the government, the benefit of the doubt, and implore them for making some commitment and some effort. I am concerned about youthful people, young people, in terms that they cannot take the vaccine. And we see that the government is making some strides to get the Pfizer vaccine here, so we can give that option to
and Johnson & Johnson, I think.
Right?
Yeah.
So imagine. We've had cases or heard cases of young people being hospitalized in the hospital before COVID. So I am concerned for more youthful people who are unable to take the vaccine, or not, for lack of a better word, exempt or not allowed to take the vaccine, and they don't have that option. So we need to start having that conversation on how do we protect our young people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, let's talk about the next part of this. That is the campaign, right? The campaigning side of it. We have campaign rules. CIS has a great take on this. The CIS has an entire party can't campaign anymore. I want to hear his thoughts on this. You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. I wonder if can Cassius Group, they have to be vaccinated?
I'm not sure if Cassius Stewart vaccinated.
I know. I think BDM got to sit down too. This is
they need to campaign virtually.
This might be better than Baroque in the house. Who knew?
Mm-hmm. You
can just say everybody got to be vaccinated and it shuts down all your parties. But we'll be back. Let's discuss it. You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black, Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. We'll be back right after.
In life, there are always challenges. Today, we find ourselves having to be more self-sufficient, socially aware, and technically savvy. At J.S. Johnson, we are committed to our customers by providing cost-effective insurance solutions. No matter what your insurance needs, we will always be here for you. Call 397-2100 or visit jsjohnson.com. Johnson Brokers, giving you peace of mind.
When I had got prostate cancer, my family didn't know if I was going to live. At Cancer Treatment Centers of America, within days, I got an appointment. They presented me with treatment options, and we set up a robotic prostatectomy. When my scans came back, there are no signs of cancer. They don't see you as a number, they see you as a part of the family. I'm going on with my life. It's a real gift.
Call us at Cancer Treatment Centers of America.
This is Guardian Radio, your station for up-to-the-minute news, intelligent, interactive, and engaging conversation. 96.9 FM.
It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black.
And we're back. You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black, Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Want to send a heartfelt condolence to the loss of a resident nurse, Nurse Eldora Poitier, nursing officer from PMH maternity ward, who succumbed to COVID this past yesterday. So condolences to the family on the passing there. And it again shows that that COVID is real. It's not a gimmick. People are fighting the fight, and we're losing them nonetheless. So condolences to her family. Joining me is none other than my good friend C.A. Nuri, and of course, leader of the Bahamas Democratic Movement, Mr. Cassius Stewart himself. Cassius, how are you, my friend?
I'm wonderful, Nahaja. How are you? C.A., how are you, buddy?
I am blessed.
I hear you want to know whether I vaccinated. I am fully vaccinated.
Okay.
Oh, but someone can be on the ground.
Yes,
Someone can be on the ground.
I didn't take them AstraZeneca. I went to the U.S. and I took the Moderna.
See, there you go. Yeah,
And
yeah.
I didn't trust this one too much, so I decided to take my other options. And so my whole family is vaccinated. I think, though, while we have a pandemic, we also have an infodemic. We have so much information bombarding people throughout the country through WhatsApp about the negatives and this and that and so on. So people are really afraid. They don't know what to do. And so people have to begin to make some serious choices because, people are saying that those who are vaccinated will be dead in 2 years. So that's me, you, and Nahaja, we will be dead in 2 years. So
that's right.
And so some people really believe that. Some people believe that the vaccination has a chip that has to do with the 666 and has to do with 5G. And they really, really, really believe that. And so, but this is where you have to be able to bring sound information to educate the populace. And from time immemorial, if you want to come into the Bahamas right now, you need to have a yellow fever shot if you're coming in from Central and South America. Everybody has to be vaccinated to come into the Bahamas for yellow fever. If not, you can't come in. And so countries always had protocols when it comes to these types of issues. I suspect, though, COVID-19 will be no different in the future because no country wants the economy to be crippled again like this. I think we have to be take it a little more seriously than we've been doing. I don't think the population's been taking it seriously because when I go in some of the rural areas, they tell me, man, Mr. Stewart, this COVID thing ain't real, man, because I know nobody who got COVID. And so because they know nobody who got COVID, they keep hearing about it. They don't think it's real. Now, I had a brother who died from COVID, and so, so I know it's real. And so we have to take it, because we have so much information bombarding us left, right, and center as to the negatives, the positive, Bill Gates, the 666, this, to that, to that. People don't know what to do. And then the prime minister could bring one vaccine. The only vaccine he brought in was the one that had the most problems around the world. And so everybody was, hell no, I won't take that either. So if you had more choices, I believe more people would have been vaccinated. If you had brought in the Pfizer or the Moderna and the AstraZeneca, people would say, listen, I don't want that one, I want this one. And more people would have been vaccinated because I think they're trying to channel it. They're trying to hold it too much. Allow the private sector to buy the vaccines to be able to vaccinate the sector instead of just pushing it through the government sector. In the U.S., the private sector received vaccines, and now I can go to a private clinic and I can get vaccinated. Of course, it costs me, but I'm still vaccinated. And so I think because they're trying to restrict it and just push it through the government sector, it's kind of bottlenecking the process. And so people aren't being vaccinated because people are afraid of the AstraZeneca vaccine, honestly.
I think that's, if you're just tuning in, BDM leader Cassius Stewart joining us, C.A. Nuri on the show with us. And I think that's one of the challenges that the administration has, the Ministry of Health has. How do we gain confidence? Listen, Canada has only been using AstraZeneca. The UK has only been using AstraZeneca. Johnson & Johnson and AstraZeneca are, based on what I've learned so far, they're not identical, but they use the same sort of vehicle to transfer this vaccine. So there are debates or concerns with it, but people are going and getting Johnson and Johnson. And I say, well, what's wrong? What's so wrong with AstraZeneca? Unless you're talking about the fact that there are politics that we don't know about.
Yeah.
This vaccine. So that's a whole other story and kettle of fish. But I want to talk with you now is about your response to some of the restrictions that's imposed, right? That the government is having to impose. I don't think they're joyful in imposing these restrictions, right? This is an election year. They don't want to impose certain restrictions. But I thought it was curious, the campaigning ones. And I see your face doing a little like shrug, like, I don't know. But let's talk about some of the restrictions that are interesting this time around. They're mentioning campaigning. So let's go with this. Campaigning restrictions. So campaigns are restricted to groups of 5 with all persons having to be vaccinated. I think that's the first thing. Everybody has to be vaccinated who are on the ground, groups of 5. So the Prime Minister, the PLP, the BDM, all of y'all with your big groups, DNA, y'all need to cut it down. Now, of course, we know your groups wouldn't be as big because they try to run out with, like 60, 70 people. How many people Dwayne Sands had on the ground? I saw his video, Dwayne. I saw your video. But what do you think of that first one, being vaccinated?
Well, first of all, the F&M, from time immemorial, over the last 20 years, it was always small groups going door to door. It was never this large crowd of people taking picture for WhatsApp and Facebook. The F&M started that. And so ever since I know campaigning, we always went out in small groups of 5s. So this is nothing new. It was the F&M in the middle of the pandemic. Hubert Minnis led the charge in Baintown and in Grantstown with large groups of people. He did it. But you were putting restrictions on people from going in large groups, but you did it. And now you're saying, we're sorry now. And so I think the Prime Minister was the one. They should have been a little more responsible because they had all the information regarding the pandemic. They violated the pandemic rules. They went out there in large numbers. And now they're saying, it's a big problem now. And so for us, we never had a problem with small groups because that's how we campaign. That's how we always campaign, in small groups. So the only trouble is people vaccinated because they have a mistrust of the government. And
there's so much vaccines right now. I mean, if you try to use the portal, that's a whole other story.
And so how do you now go there with people? How do you force people to who want to campaign who are not vaccinated? How do you say, okay, you can't come on the campaign trail? Look like it just be me, Hubert Minnis, and Brave Davis campaigning because the large population of people are not vaccinated, and a lot of them refuse to get vaccinated. And so, what is that? Where did that lead us as a political organization, and where did that leads us when it comes to the next election? Because if Brave Davis is right, the election would have been in 3 months. Are we saying now that we have to stall the election and push it further down the road because now nobody could knock on doors? And so
y'all should have gotten vaccinated in the first tranche. What do they say, Cecil?
But do we have a vaccination card when we go out and say, listen, I'm vaccinated? I mean, how do you police this? How do you man this? Is the COVID police will go to the F&M group, the PLP group, the BDM group and say, show me your vaccination cards if you could be on the road? How do you man that though?
They'll come to the BDM
vaccination card, and they do ask for the vaccination card.
Oh yeah, but they'll come to the BDM group. I don't think they go to the F&M group.
Yeah, they ain't going to the F&M group, but
they might go from the PLP too and call if they get vaccinated.
I understand the challenge the hospital is facing right now. The hospital is under severe pressure because it is full to capacity. A&E is full. All the wards are full. Doctors Hospital is full. Duran is full. Sandlands is full. Everything is full right now because we have this strain. The morgue is full, like you talked about earlier. The challenge with that CA is because we have not prepared properly as a nation for an expansion in population, but also an expansion in case we have a pandemic. So the same hospital we had was the hospital we had 50, 60 years ago when we had a population of 150,000 people. Now we have almost 400,000 people. We didn't increase the bed size. We didn't increase the capacity. We're trying to patch it up now. The expansion in the front of the hospital is more administrative than there are bed space. So that didn't really serve or lend to the problem or help the problem. We need to seriously rebuild our healthcare infrastructure so that it'll be able to accommodate the population size that we have. But we also have 400,000 people plus on any given day, 5 million people on the island, tourists. So you have to factor in, what if there's an outbreak for the tourists? Where do they go? And so we got to sensibly rebuild our healthcare system so that we'll be able to deal with these issues if they ever come up again. And we will have more pandemics coming in the future. We will. That's how life goes. But we got to be ready. We got to always be prepared. And so that is one of the issues we're facing because our healthcare system is strained. We don't have the capacity to deal with what we have. And, the nurses are being affected. Listen, the nurses and the doctors are more afraid than anyone else because they deal with this every day. They are afraid. And so we got to be able to put a system in place where it protects our nurses and our doctors so that they don't have this issue moving forward.
Yeah. If you're just tuning in, you're listening to The Hit Back with Nahaja, Black Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Don't forget to follow us, like us on YouTube and Facebook. Cassius Stewart, the leader of the BDM, Bahamas Democratic Movement, joining CA&I. So now you've heard some of the restrictions, Cassius. And one of the things that people are going to be looking for, and, as we go into an election year, and I think a lot of us do believe that there will be an early election, right? As you sit here now, knowing that you're fully vaccinated, I would like to know how many of your members, your candidates are fully vaccinated. Do you believe that this will be a challenge for you guys campaigning?
It definitely will. It will be a challenge for all political parties because, for me, how do you force people to get vaccinated to come on the campaign trail? There are people out there who are diametrically opposed to being vaccinated for whatever reason that they have. They don't want this thing in their body, and they say that's what they believe. And so more than likely, it will affect all political parties moving forward. And we have to find the best way to be able to get to voters. Fortunately for us, we live in a time where we have technology. I could send CA a WhatsApp right now and give him my whole platform. However, if we have divorced ourselves from our traditional way of camping, because Bahamians love to see you in their home, they love to touch you, they love to know that they see you and they row you or they tell you they love you. If we've gotten away from that, then we're fine. If not, then we're all in trouble. Because I could send you a text. I don't mind sending you a text and tell you vote for me and then you tell me back, yeah. But if I have to come to your home, then that is a problem. Because, of course, now, coming to your home now, I got to be cautious whether you have COVID-19 or I have COVID-19 or the people in my team have COVID-19. Do we stay far away and talk to you? Do we whisper to you? And so it becomes a challenge. And so it's going to affect all political parties in the coming months on the campaign trail. And we just have to do our best and use the technology we have to be able to reach our voters.
Do you think it's an advantage to any political party? Or is it affecting all equally?
No, I think it creates what they call an equilibrium between all political parties. It creates a balance because no political party now has an advantage over the other. In the past, the FNM and the PLP may have had an advantage because they could have put on rallies and this and that, and we didn't have the money to muscle it up. Right now, it's a WhatsApp, or YouTube, or Facebook, or my 5 and your 5 knocking at your door. And so what that means, everybody's equal. So now you can't really manipulate me with all the fanfare and this on the ground and the rum and the party and this and that because all that is canceled. Now it's just basically a hand-to-hand combat now. In a hand-to-hand combat, I don't think they could beat us. So it's the advantage.
If I may, what do you expect come Saturday for the PLP and the FNM campaign? Do you expect to see them in groups of 5s?
Well, they will probably try that way, and I think they will all try to obey the rules because, of course, we know us who are in leadership. We know that this COVID problem is affecting a lot of people. A lot of people are dying, and so they should be, and we'll all try to obey the rules as coming down from the leadership of the country. So I think everybody will obey as best as they can. If not, then of course they'll be called out because everybody got a cell phone to say, "Oh yeah, that's a group of 6. I'm a group of 5."
Yeah.
But I think that everybody will be as responsible as possible. All leaders will try to be as responsible as possible. And even so, the leader of the PLP was infected with COVID, so he would know, and he would, I think, issue orders to his team to, act responsible and act vigilant. I sent out a notice to our membership the other day to be responsible in this regard. To, don't let your guard down, be vigilant, hand sanitize. Observe the protocols so that we can really fight this thing because this is really coming back with a roar. And this time is knocking it out faster than the first time around. And so we don't want any more people to die from this COVID-19. And so we want people to be safe. And so we all got to do our part, eh? And so that's what you're doing, Nahaja. We spreading the message, spreading the news, sanitize, stay safe. Don't go in large crowds. Don't go out if you don't have to, and don't mix and mingle if you don't have to. And so you have to be responsible as best as you can, and that's what leadership does. We have to be able, across the board, we all have to be responsible.
BDM leader Cassius Stewart. Cassius, thank you so much, my friend. Appreciate the time. I mean, if you want to say another, segment right after the news, we'll be happy to have you, because CA has this notion that this will stop tons of parties, political, from actually campaigning. Where he says that which party you say, Cecil, will be done?
I was told that nobody in the COI vaccinated. The whole party.
Yeah. Some people do not believe in getting vaccinated. And like I said, they have their information. The information they're getting is from, I'm in some of these groups and I see some of this information. I can't even listen to it, because if I start to believe some of that, then I think I'm going to be there in 2 years because I'm vaccinated. And so, it's what they call an infodemic. It's just too much information and you don't know how to process it. And because you don't know how to process it, it leaves you in a state of flux. Should I get vaccinated? Should I not get vaccinated? Who do I listen to? And so, so some political parties are pushing the notion that, listen, I don't want to do it. And, it should be a choice, but I think everybody should be responsible in making this choice. I don't want to force nothing down nobody's throat. But I do believe Europe has already signed legislation saying that nobody who is unvaccinated can enter their territory. Sooner or later, America will do that at the federal level. And sooner or later, all countries in the region will start to do that. You have to be vaccinated to enter.
We got to take a break. When we come back, more on this breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. We've had our update by the press conference, and so we're talking about it. COVID restrictions and protocols. You're listening to The Hit Back with Nahaja Black.
This is Guardian Radio, 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
This is Guardian Radio, your station for up-to-the-minute news, intelligent, interactive, and engaging conversation. 96.9 FM.
You have to be strong in today's world. Keep your focus and up. What you believe in, how to achieve all your dreams. Keep moving forward. Never accept less than who you are. Live your best life. Be strong and free. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back.
And we're back. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black, Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Shout out to Sammy Starr and a wonderful young talent who did this intro song for me. I still like it. I still like it a lot. Some folks are saying, they like James Brown better. It's James Brown. Seriously. Everyone is going to like James Brown better. That's like saying, I like Michael Jackson's music over like Milli Vanilli. No, let me not do that. By definition. But we have some interesting things today. C.A. Nuri joining me on the show. Obviously, COVID protocols. We are now into further restrictions. The questions that come from me with these new, and the press conference, the new announcements for the press conference. We are now going to get locked down back from 11 p.m. to 10 p.m. I find it curious that I still don't know what that means to me in protection from COVID-19. I've been told that whilst this, and give me brief on this one for a second, CA. Just 1 minute. Just let me exhale and share this thought here. This third wave is not new. This third wave didn't start last week. This third wave didn't start 2 weeks ago. This third wave didn't start 3 weeks ago. We are over a month on a third wave. Over a month, and we're getting our first press conference, okay? People been dying. We didn't move from 180 deaths to 280 deaths overnight. People been dying. We've been getting over 100 a day for quite a while, but we got our first press conference today. Frustrates me with all of this is we come today with the press conference, and we knew restrictions had to happen, right? Restriction had to happen. The Prime Minister, during a third wave, announces that there'll be no more extension of the emergency, because really he's not been doing well with the powers anyway. So everyone's happy with that, but things that should be done, which is giving some sort of protocol or process to what happens after the 13th of August. The House is adjourned until the 22nd of September. So I would like to know when they're going to come up with some sort of rule or shenanigans, some sort of process to get this done, right? But I digress. Just showing you that this is very confusing to me in a lot of ways. So now we're here. After the press is pushed and prompted, when are you going to speak to us? We have a press conference. We hold the press conference, and now we're told, okay, there are going to be restrictions. But where's the data? My good friend, Clint, I love him to pieces, and he said, what is the data? What is the data? That's something he always talks about. What is the data that shows that 1 hour difference? What is the data what is the math that shows that when you shut it down from 10 or 11, that it saves us from COVID? What is any of this that's going on? The challenge we face, Cecil, we don't have vaccines. We know scientifically that the vaccines reduces your propensity to actually die from COVID, especially those persons who are at higher risk of losing their life to COVID-19, right? We don't have vaccines in sufficient supply to deal with this thing. We don't have a campaign, an educational campaign that would assuage the people's concerns. The government has lost trust, but we don't need weird stuff. Like, you can travel, you and I can inter-island travel because we're vaccinated, but everybody else need a PCR test, but we know vaccinated people are able to catch COVID, share COVID. We know country with their negative, right? They can come in with their negative however many days before they arrive and be shedding. They can be in the hotel and shed, but that's fine. These things are confusing to me. And then you come out and you really don't have an answer. And you mentioned the CA. You mentioned this to me. Why wasn't the Prime Minister, was the competent authority, speaking on these things? Because Minister Wells is just Minister Wells. Some of these things are requiring the signature and the voice of the competent authority. So should we consider these things rules or laws now? Because he said it. Is he the de facto competent authority?
It doesn't come into effect until Monday. So perhaps we can assume that the competent authority will make a speech between now and Monday. Sunday, I guess, will be the date.
Yeah. Yeah, well, listen, is the Prime Minister not speaking on it? Like, I mean, how do you say soon? And then you're not the one speaking on it. And you're also a former Minister of Health. It isn't like, you remember when he first started, the Prime Minister, Michael Lonnie, Prime Minister, my member, my ex. You remember when he first started, he said that he's a physician. He knows about making people having to take the bitter pill and the medicine and all of this because he's different. He's not a lawyer, he's a doctor. And, you have to explain all of this. And the man, he's traveling to Grand Bahama, breaking ground and thing. And he has a nurse in Grand Bahama in critical condition. How are we addressing the fact that our nurses are leaving because they're burnt out? You've not addressed the fact that critical care, you use the Samaritan's Purse 10 and it's full. You see, it stresses me out. These things frustrate me because I'm like, but we're not answering the questions. We're not solving the problem. Tell me how closing, why the spas closed. Tell me how this makes sense. Make it make sense for me. Why the spas closed. I don't know that. But if the hairdresser, my beauty salon, my beautician, my barber, all of these things that are, important, they open. I mean, I have to wear a mask with my beautician. And some of these things just ain't making no sense to me, Cecil. I'm sorry. So I'm sitting here and I want to be supportive. I knew that these things were going to come because we've been ignoring it. We've been having campaigns. We've been on the ground with 10, 15, 20 people who didn't have to be vaccinated when you knew that we were in a third wave. You knew people were sick. You knew better than us. Families in groups of 4 and 5 were coming in, whole households sick. You knew this. We don't know this. Today, you still can't tell us what variants are actually in country today. We're talking about those that were in there from early in the year. We finally getting that UK variant, no duh.
Alpha and iota, I think.
Iota. We got one iota. No joke. That's literally, it's just one iota. Strain. And it's just, for me, it's exhausting. The reason why it's exhausting, so many things are affected, Cecil. So many things that people are affected by the way they're doing business. And businesses are affected. Livelihoods are affected. You're sending people into financial ruin when you can't focus. But worse than that, more so than even just financial ruin. Because one day, if I'm alive, I can come back from it. Hopefully I can come back from it. But then there are lives on the line that when we needed this level of urgency, this conversation to go further and be as robust, you're still doing the campaigning thing. You're still having conventions. You're still doing weird stuff. And now we're here. And, so I'm frustrated. I'm happy that they did it. But for me, doing it is just, okay, this is what we were forced to do. Would they have done it without the young lady coming online? And well, they had already agreed to do it before she came online, but without the young lady crying and telling her story about losing her brother and her mother within 24 hours, without Dr. Williams coming on this platform or other physicians crying out, where would we be? The numbers of the dashboard don't come out every day. And that's frustrating. How is it that you go on and it's not readily available? I had to go dig and call a friend from, BIS, send me the numbers, please. I'm frustrated. There's too much confusion in it. And I think there's a lot of political gamesmanship in it as well. I don't know. Okay, I've gone off on I needed my moment. Yours. Let's go. You take the floor.
I see you were venting and rightly so. I appreciate your concern. The Prime Minister needs to address us. We need to move away from this blame game of, the people are not getting vaccinated. One, the people cannot get vaccinated anymore because there aren't any vaccinations here. So stop saying they need to get vaccinated, because if they go down, they can't get it. They cannot get it. It's for those who already have the first dose and get the second jab. And and you find that you don't catch flies with vinegar, you catch flies with honey. And we need to change the narrative on what it is and how we need to convince people to take this pandemic seriously and why they should take the vaccine. And I believe that needs to be held in intimate sessions where you go into the community, ask them what is their concern. Why haven't you taken the vaccine? What is your fear, right? Listening to the fear, consider the fear as reality and say, I understand. And then I believe when you address the fear, some people are afraid that it has a chip inside it. Show them that there's no chip. And they'll say, I always thought that there's a chip. And I'm sure that they will take the vaccine because they can see that there's no chip in it. Some people believe that they'll grow horns. Show them that no one grows horns. And I believe that they will take the vaccine, right? So this bashing that is happening now nationally. Oh, you're one dead. Only y'all people who don't want to take the vaccine dying. I don't care about y'all. Y'all need to die. That needs to change. And when we see people are doing that narrative, we need to condemn them and say, no, these are Bahamians just like us. They all have some concerns. And it's our job to address the concerns and make them feel comfortable.
Exactly.
So they can take the vaccine.
Exactly. And listen, I mean, even before, we have to be on that trip to really to assuage concerns. And regardless if it's concerns are assuaged, there will be folks who just won't take it.
Yes.
And I think that's something you have to understand, that there are folks who will set their mind on it. I don't take the flu shot. I will not take the flu. I don't see a need to take a flu shot.
I take
don't
the flu shot every year.
Man, listen, I got Cersei on my fence. I need no flu shot.
Cersei don't work.
Man, that is wood. I don't know what Cersei you use. What you use? Weed.
That bitter one with the yellow flower.
We have a caller on the line. Let's get the caller. Caller, you're on the hit back. Welcome.
Hi, how you all doing?
We're well, and you?
Okay, wonderful. I was watching a news clipping on the My Business News, and in fact, beyond the headline, and I saw the Prime Minister not wearing masks.
Yep.
So what is that all about? If he's encouraging persons to take the proper precautions, so why is these a function and not? Can y'all help me with that?
I say that I've called it a double standard for sure. My thing is that you can't look, and that's what's so frustrating to me too. Oh, let's get on the same page. Again, the Prime Minister, he has to lead by example. I mean, it's a burden. Leadership isn't it isn't easy. Leadership isn't easy. It's service. Service means you carry a burden. And so that burden requires a higher calling, a higher standard. When you ask for the job, that is a part of the work. It isn't one of those things where people can get in their feelings. And see, I can't deal with dumbness. Not calling myself the smartest tool or the sharpest tool in the shed, But I believe in some things called common sense. And if you don't know, you learn. If you don't know, you learn. If you offend, you apologize. If you are critical, if there's rebuke, you take it. If it's righteous from someone you trust, if it's unrighteous, if it's not from someone you trust, you easily move on. Here is where I have an issue. The issue is whenever anyone decides that they want to lead the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, Cecil, it's a contract between you and I to do their best job for all of us. It isn't about their feelings. It isn't about how they feel today or tomorrow. You're going to have downtimes. You're going to have moments. How many of us who wear masks don't wear masks? Nobody wants to wear a mask. But you can't be leading the conversation on vaccination, on COVID-19, on socially distancing, or leading your goons and rhetoric, talking about how it's the people who aren't vaccinated who are causing this pandemic, all of this level of dumbness. But then when it's your turn, Mr. Prime Minister, you are not doing that one. Just do the function. Just do the function. Just fake it. Even if you're faking it and in the closed doors, you feel very free as a vaccinated person to take off your mask, that's fine. That's great. Whatever you do in the dark, nobody knows. But you have a function. Just do the function because people are dying. Some people are not taking this seriously. I agree that there are people who are saying, listen, I'm not getting vaccinated. I don't know anyone. COVID ain't real. I don't know anyone who's, who has COVID. And so, and then folks say, if I don't have my mask on, I'll show them this photo. You know, I mean, you go, the highest standard is a burden. The highest standard is a burden. You can't want dance, have the car, the 2 meets, the big check, the pension, all of these things. You got a message, and when you out, you can't deliver. It's so many, and then these are things that frustrate me, Cecil. It frustrates me to no end. Not for me. It don't frustrate me for me. Listen, it doesn't frustrate me for me. It frustrates me for all of the other people who don't have the funds to travel, who don't have health insurance. Even if you have health insurance, where are the beds? It frustrates me for the nurses, for the doctors, for the EMTs, for the croupier, for the housekeeper, for the pool boy who has to deal in the front line with all of this. That's who frustrates me for. Because when they get sick, they can't fly off like Brave. They can't get, because I'm Dr. Minnis, I get the best room at Doctor's Hospital. Come on, man. This is not for us. The poor have a different pandemic. That's what the pandemic is. They should say that this is a pandemic for the poor and for the not so poor. Oh, the well off for the poor, because that's what it shows.
And Nahaja, I know you have a caller, but I would like that information also. Data on the persons who died. You know, some in regards which hospital did they attend, of medication did they receive, right? The demographics in general. Where did they live? You know, which area did they work in? Were they in the service industry? These are the type of information I could use to make a conscientious decisions moving forward. And I'm still waiting. You know that they died. You know, and that's it. You know, to say they died from COVID, but there's no demographics on why, where, which, when, and what happened. You know.
We got a call on the line. Caller, thanks for holding. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Nahaja. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, my brother, and you?
Yeah, I'm doing okay. And welcome to co-host for the most part, Mr. Neary.
Yep.
The Mr. Stewart did a good job. I listened to him doing the interview about a half hour ago. Nahaja, this is serious because we just lost another nurse who was frontline. You know, it can't be understated that the severity and the seriousness of this pandemic and what is being done about it. You know, the education campaign, like Mr. Neary alluded to just recently, it has never took off because people talk to people, just go and get a vaccine. No, you don't talk to people that way. Mm-hmm. You got to be sensible of it. You just heard Dr. Sands on, I think it was yesterday or the day before. And so, you know, his approach to this whole thing is so calm and sensible, and he makes the valid point how we need to attack it. We need to deal with it all together, collectively, all together. I've lost an uncle to COVID. We all have to understand that this thing is here, and we got to do it together. We got to talk to each other with some sense. And we haven't heard from the chief medical officer in months, nor did we have a briefing in months. It can't continue that way. We got to come to realize that, you know, we are losing the nation. It can't be about politics at this point, because elections could be called in May of next year. It don't have to be this year. That's the mandatory time for election is May of next year. But we need to deal with the pandemic. That's what's important right now.
Yes.
Thank you for taking my call.
Preach, my brother. Thank you. You know, I agree with him completely. Again, heartfelt condolences. We lost a nurse yesterday. We lost a mother and son sometime earlier this week. COVID is real, y'all, and it can't be. I don't even know what to say at this point. Just, I'm happy they did the press conference. I don't know. I mean, we have restrictions. Hopefully, I don't know how the restrictions will really aid, but we got what we got. We'll be back right after this. You're listening to The Hit Back with Nahaja Black, Guardian Radio, 96.9 FM.
Tired of banks forcing you to use technology to bank the way they want you to? Your convenience is important. So no matter what your banking needs, Commonwealth Bank's friendly staff are always available in branch for that personal one-on-one service. But when you choose technology, our online and mobile banking app offers you state-of-the-art functionality. The choice is yours. Commonwealth Bank. Bank the way you want.
When I had got prostate cancer, my family didn't know if I was going to live. At Cancer Treatment Centers of America, within days, I got an appointment. They presented me with treatment options, and they said, when my scans came back, there are no signs of cancer. They don't see you as a number, they see you as a part of the family. I'm going on with my life. That's a real gift.
Call us at Cancer Treatment Centers of America.
It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black.
And we're back. You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. My good friend and you're also joining me on the show today. We got a call on the line. Call you on the Hit Back. Welcome.
Of the show.
Hi, you're on the air.
Yes. You know, we thought we had a leader, when you think about it, in this prime minister. I remember at first we thought, we get a doctor, there'll be some healing going on, but we got a doctor and we got a virus. Not his fault. I'm not blaming him for this, but what I'm blaming him for, in a crisis like this, his mind is trying to balance between dictating and politicking. He really into chemistry. What the Bahamas needs now is chemistry. Someone to bring us together. It's not in him. So don't be looking for that in him. All right? And and the thing is, now that the Bahamas need leadership, look what he does. He appoints an engineer to run the most important ministry at this time, which is the one of health. Right now, we need someone who knows about health. This gentleman cannot speak on the international front about anything to do with health. He has to only dictate to people what he hears someone says to him. We're in a sad state, But anyway, look, do not expect any leadership from this prime minister, right? He's just looking for an opportunity.
Thank you, my brother. I appreciate the call.
Good afternoon, Ms. Black. How are you?
I'm well, and you?
I am great, thank you. Listen, how many times have you said COVID is serious? This is serious. How many times do you think you said that? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, how many times do you think the Bahamian people are going to listen to you?
I hope to God they do. I really hope so.
But what angers me is that COVID is real, like you said. We know it, we hear it on the radio, it's all around the world. We know how many persons are dying, and still Bahamians stood back and said they need the government or somebody to come and tell them about this. The government only knows what everyone else knows. What we hear, it's amazing to me how many things we can get from social media when we want it. But we don't want to take this responsibility for our own self and trying to save our own lives. Instead, we try to make it political, as if the prime minister is responsible for their lives. You are responsible, people out there, Bahamian, for your own securing your own self. I almost want to say something else, but anyway. But until we stop trying to make things political and blame the government for everything, we are now trying to blame the government to keep us safe. If you die and if you get COVID, you die for you. If the prime minister or any political leader get the COVID, they're going to die for themselves. So I don't understand why we try to sit back and the heads or whoever they are to come back and go in constituencies, sit down with these people and explain to these people what the vaccine is all about. That is stupidity to the core to hear people say that. When you know that the vaccine will help a little bit if you take it. The Bahamians sit back. They said they ain't taking no vaccine when it first came out. Nobody. When I went to get my first shot, The nurse in there told me, Miss, you look around in this room. What do you see in this room? All the Chinese people are coming to get vaccinated. She said, none of the Bahamians are not coming out. And now they sit back and they blame others for them not taking responsibility to do what they need to do for themselves. I just don't understand it. I don't care who it is in power. PLP, FNM, GNA, they are not responsible for your life. It's for you to find out what's going on. It's just when you're sick, you go to the doctor for yourself. Isn't that right?
Yep.
You find out the doctor for yourself. So, COVID is real, like you said. We can see what's going on in the world. We don't need no political party to come to our door or gather nobody to tell them this thing is real or to encourage you to take the vaccine. That's your life. And if you don't have the means or whatever to say, take care of my life and myself, and I got to wait for the prime minister, the deputy, or whoever else, the nurses, the doctors to come and tell me to stay away. But you know what, Nahaja? Bahamians just love to have their own way. And when the thing hit the fan, they blame everybody else but themselves. They want to gather up. They want to have parties. They want to do, I say, bitch, they wanted to do like they did, like they've been doing. The teachers are filled, and when they get sick, they blame somebody else. Yeah, people are dying. You know why a bunch of Bahamians are now dying and in the hospital? Because they're not listening to nobody.
Listen, you hit the nail on the head to a lot of things with regards to personal responsibility. Thank you so much, because I'm going to elaborate on that, but let me get to the other caller. Let me just get to another caller, and we'll elaborate on that, because she dropped a few things in there that we can add to and dissect. But caller, you're on the hit back. Welcome. Hi, caller, you're on the air. Caller, are you there? No. Okay, we lost the caller there. All right, you can feel free to give us a call back. I mean, make sure I have all the numbers. Caller, you there? Okay, no. All right, Wally, just let me know when they arrive. CA, your thoughts on that? There were some points in there.
Mind you, I can appreciate what the caller said, but it is wrong to demonize Bahamians for acting human. This same conversation is being had in every single country around the world. This is not peculiar to the Bahamas alone. And you'll find that countries around the world, particularly first world countries, they have changed the narrative. They have introduced different platforms on how they convince their population in regards to why they should take the vaccine. And us being progressive, we need to do the same. So to demonize us and say we are different and peculiar from the rest of the world, and then that Bahamians are simple-minded, knowing the fact that every country around the world is going through the same discussion where people are dubious about the vaccine, is wrong. And I mentioned again, you don't catch flies with vinegar. You catch flies with honey. In the United States, inside of Canada, they have programs and incentives to have their and in Europe, they have rules and benefits for people to be convinced to take the vaccine. And of course, inside the Bahamas, we must do the same. And so I feel uneasy, even though I understand the point she's trying to make. I'm not diminishing the point she's trying to make. I mean, there needs to be personal responsibility. But there will be a number of persons in the population who will refuse to take the vaccine, which is happening throughout the world.
Yeah, there's some who cannot for health reasons, also can't take it. And also to add to that point, because I agree, personal responsibility is important, right? And I think that is something that I've even shared here, where you have to do this, if not for you. And when I say have to do it, I'm not talking about taking the vaccine if that's not what you want. I'm hoping that more people will. Because, again, we're seeing the data is consistent across the globe, that those who take the vaccine and are fully vaccinated are 96% between there, not the ones who are succumbing to COVID. Yes, you are catching it, but you're not hospitalized and you are not dying. And that is what is important, because, again, we get to the point of lockdowns when the healthcare system can't handle the influx. We are to a place where our healthcare system, they're begging, they're coming out and really are very concerned about this. Personal responsibility is important. That's why I say, if not for you, do it for the people that you love. I go back to my own story. watching my loved ones being taken by ambulance, it'll change everything. Yeah. And I thought we were safe. I thought we were doing the necessary things. We were wearing masks when we got together. And this was after all of these things were, restrictions were lifted. We were wearing masks. We were only going between households here, between 2 to 3 households. We're keeping it tight. But people were going with the Delta variant. Now we have something that is far more contagious, that is able to spread much easier. And I think that's what we're seeing going on in countries. So it doesn't even matter how safe you are. Ask a lot of people, how did you get it? And a lot of folks will be like, I'm not sure how I got it. I don't know when it came into my house. I don't know when my mother got it. I don't know when my brother got it, right? So people are still trying to figure, and what's something that is more transmissible, like the Delta variant, you don't know when you get it. So they're saying that there's studies like, listen, you can walk in a room, someone who had it, and it's still in the air. So now, this is where it isn't even just I've met most Bahamians most Bahamians I know are taking this thing seriously. But then they're living too. So you still got to go to work. You still got to go to the food store. You haven't seen your mommy and she's a senior, so you got to go check on her. But your brother lives with her and he works. So this is all of these concerns. That is real life. Life didn't stop happening. So I think a lot of Bahamians are, personally responsible. Are they the reckless crew? Yes. And people who want party? Yes. I know of parties that happen by the outside. Ain't no COVID police on that. Okay, so I think it's virtually impossible that people will not get sick, especially with something that is as contagious as this Delta variant. And if it's so contagious and it's so easy to get, then it's hard to follow. We are to the place where they're saying that most of it isn't imported, so it's obviously community spread. It's all on us. And if it's in the community, if we're looking at these numbers, I can tell you, doing your best to be safe, people still getting it. People are still getting it. And so we have to take our time and try to get as many people to consider it. You have to be responsible as leadership and say, hey, listen, this is on us so that our citizenry doesn't pass away. And so we're going to try our best to assuage some of their concerns.
And this is where I want to commend the government. When we had vaccines, they went in the community where you don't have to go down a far place, but you can come outside and there was a vaccination center in your community, and they went to churches and so on. So hopefully as we get more vaccination in country, we'll embrace that again, and you'll see that the government will make effort now to make sure that Bahamians have access and they'll spread the message. And that's something that we need to commend the government for.
And I was about to say, it's tough because this isn't new. It isn't something that's a deficiency on the government. Third world nations like us, developing nations like ours, not third world, developing nations like ours, poorer nations are not getting vaccines, right? It's a struggle, and the government is doing all it can, I can tell, trying to get vaccines. And so I commend them for that. So these are frontline workers. They don't want to get vaccinated. And that's a whole other story too. Because how you going to persuade the average Joe if the doctors and nurses don't want to take the vaccine? That's a whole other
story. Most educated amongst us terrified of this particular vaccine.
Terrified. So that's a whole other kettle of fish. We got a call on the line. Caller, you're on the hit back. Thanks for holding. All right. Caller, you're on the hit back. Thanks for holding. Hello, caller, you're on the air.
Hello.
Hi, you're on the air.
Hey, Natasha. Yeah, I agree with the last caller. Really, it is a personal responsibility. You can't blame anybody for it. If you want to be well, that's part of the protocol. I'm tired of hearing people relying on government and all kinds of things. We got to be personally responsible for our lives and everything else. Tired of hearing people complaining with government all the time. Please, let's try to be independent and do the right thing, man. Be responsible. Thanks.
Yes, I'm with you. Everybody needs, and that's it. Socially distant, please, y'all, social distance. Please, y'all, social distance. Wash your hand. If you don't have to see I was just, how much family member I have to row, right? Like, why are you out on these streets? You don't need to see nobody, and so we have to. There's a certain amount of personal responsibility. And some of these children need to get it together too. Some of you parents, your children wayward. These 20-somethings, right? They just wayward. Just wayward. Stay home. What you doing? And for the record, this Delta thing, it is affecting younger people too. So that's also where the concern lies. So young people, you're not immune. You're not superhuman anymore. This is affecting people. Someone says people are furtive. Listen, I don't think you can fault. This is why I say, if this is where leadership comes. This is where the campaign comes. You have to know the problem, diagnose the problem, and figure out how to solve the problem, right? And so if the problem is you have a big body of academics, you have a big body of medical professionals who are anti-AstraZeneca. Bring other options in country if you can. And I know that the Ministry of Health did state that they are bringing in Pfizer as an option for folks. I even heard of Johnson & Johnson. So there will be options afforded to the Bahamian people. Now, will that result in frontline workers getting that vaccine or any vaccine? What is the campaign speaking to the frontline workers? Nurses are dying and they're not taking the vaccine. They're watching their peers pass away and they're not doing it. So if I'm a layman, I'm looking at that for like, well, look, I mean, they're really frontline. They're not taking it. What you want from me? And so I think you have to, there has to be intention. If this is the way we get out of this pandemic, then you got to be intentional. You can't force people. And I think, it's going to be interesting. But we have something I want to ask you before we go. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Sia and Yuri joining me on the show, I have to ask Sia, let's go to this campaigning section of this, and we'll reiterate some of the restrictions as well. For the campaigning part, I want us to dive in a bit more there. You're listening to The Hit Back with Nahaja, Black Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. We will be back right after this.
Enjoy an elevated mobile experience with BTC, giving you
unlimited talk for the best conversations, unlimited data for all your online fun,
and unlimited roaming.
$50 per line.
Unlock unlimited mobile talk, data, and roaming when you sign up for BTC Superfast Fiber Internet with speed starting at 100 megabits per second. Enjoy more great savings and value. Upgrade or sign up today. Visit any BTC store or btcbahamas.com. Conditions apply.
Do you know you can get your business cards designed and printed for as low as 18 cents a card? If it's a poster you want, you can pay as little as $6 a square foot. If your print needs are short or long run, digital printing, wide format, or print consultation, call the best. Call Print Masters. Print Masters' goal is to provide its clients with the highest level of personal, professional service at an affordable price. Our state-of-the-art technology also makes working together efficient and easy. Laminations, business cards, flyers, posters, window and floor decals are just a few of the digitized print services offered at Print Masters.
Let Print Masters bring your masterpiece to life.
Located in the Nassau Guardian Building, telephone 302-2361.
This is Guardian Radio, your station for up-to-the-minute news, intelligent, interactive, and engaging conversation. 96.9 FM.
It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. It's the Hit Back with Nahaja Black.
And we're back. You're listening to The Hit Back with Nahaja, Black Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. If you missed it, the Minister of Health held a press conference today. There are a few restrictions due to the COVID increase. So the COVID flux, we didn't just enter the third wave. We've been in the third wave. There's just been a recognition of how serious this third wave is, as we now, we've been seeing, and I tell you, we've been seeing this family, these groups of people, same household, same family. So these clusters, that's what they would call it, clusters, with COVID-19, especially in this third wave, which was announced over a month ago. But now we finally get a press conference on this, and there's this urgency. We've had 100 deaths since the start of the COVID, since the start of the third wave. And so now it is incumbent on the the Ministry of Health to tell us, give us some information. And so that's what they did today. And so let me get to some of what was shared, and then we'll go to my friend C.A. Nuri. So if you're just tuning in, here are some of the restrictions. So make note, starting Monday, right? Starting Monday in the AM, right? Cecil, in the AM, 5 a.m. A curfew will be implemented between 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. So it's moving from 11 back to 10 p.m. No data on how that hour affects real life, since parties been happening regardless, but I digress. Big parties happening after 11. Big parties happening after 11. RT-PCR tests will be required for travel to any of the family islands. This applies to people who are not fully vaccinated. So if you're fully vaccinated, you're free to roam around the country. Religious worship will be confined to 33% of the facility, and 1 hour will be the service time. No funeral or cremation services are to be permitted indoors. Funerals are to be held at the graveside only. A maximum of 30 people for weddings. Indoor, maximum of 30 people are allowed at funeral services. Repasts are prohibited. 30 people are allowed to attend weddings indoor and outdoor. So limited to 10 people. No sporting activities allowed, but if you're a professional athlete, you're allowed to train. So if you're a professional athlete, you're allowed to train. So all of the sporting events, if you're doing flag football, whatever events those were, you can't do those anymore.
I would assume that also includes summer clubs, summer school.
That's what not mentioned. So that is a great point. Our summer school's done. My kids are in summer school. They gotta come home now. And I didn't bake for 2 weeks. Only been 1 week. What a time. Dining is restricted to outdoors and takeaways. This restriction does not apply to hotels. So the hotel spas can be open. The hotel dining it can be open in and out. Good for hotel workers. So see you straight. You still got a job. Good for you.
Yep.
Still can catch COVID. Bang. Yes. And no spa services are allowed. But your hairdresser, shout out to my hairdresser, best woman ever. Yeah. Good. What is this? Prestigious. Anyway, Maria Alci, find on Facebook. Wonderful. I think retailers are still open, stores and stuff, so no issues there. But they single out those spas, though. They single out them spas. And I don't know why, because Baja Retreat is legitimately the best. But my good friend at Dell. I love Baja Retreat. They do nails. Anyways, we digress. So those are some of the restrictions. Now, for the campaigning, they made sure to make note of this, that you cannot campaign unless you're vaccinated. All right, so anyone on the campaign trail must be vaccinated and cannot be in groups bigger than 5. I had someone text me and say politicians are growing, or burgeoning politicians should get vaccinated. Enough excuses, get vaccinated.
But they cannot get vaccinated. There's no vaccination here.
Well, they're late. Nobody tell them to wait so long. I would have. Thank God I got my shot.
That means a lot of people wouldn't have got it at all. So
that's probably been me too. I probably right in the middle number.
You wouldn't be able to go on that cruise.
My God, and it was
so the politics to take on.
Boy, I would have swim on that ship. Yeah. I might have gotten a lock up for what the card was. But there is no vaccines, right? So right now, vaccines coming in will be for the second jab, right? And
yes.
Someone says, like you said, so Coy and Lincoln can't campaign.
Can't campaign at all. They stop. They got to do it virtually.
Well, he can reach. We know for sure Lincoln can reach people virtually.
Yes.
So now it's
share. Share this. Yeah. Like I say, share.
Live at 8.
I'm going to reveal.
Share. Okay. Can't hang out with you.
Sure.
I can't hang out with you. I just can't hang out with you. You are not a good person. I can't hang out with you. So that's going to be one of the things that's going to be interesting there. One of the things that's going to be interesting there is how do we get these parties to the smaller groups? I can't look at you, man. You just CA, your thoughts on the smaller groups?
Well, the smaller group tends to campaign in smaller numbers, so this won't impact them at all, right? Only concern is if they're not vaccinated, they may can't go and campaign at all. But it all depends on the COVID police. Do COVID police politicians and political groups? We see in the past they haven't, right? We see them at campaign in big numbers before, both PLP and FNM. In fact, especially if the leaders there are campaigning by themselves. I've seen when the prime minister goes campaigning, he has like a party of 60. When the leader of the opposition goes campaign, he has easily a party of 60. Yeah. And that 60 go door to door, even though the leaders will say that they stay on the outskirts and only 2 or 3 of them go to the house. The point is, it's a large group of them. We've been mentioning these things before, but it is what it is.
Yeah, and the question is, are you knowing that there are people who are diametrically opposed to it? Is it something that is political? You have to wonder, is there some sort of political strategy applied to this, right?
No, I don't think so. I think that this decision, the competent authority was hard pressed to make because it impacts them in their campaign strategy. And I don't know how many of their candidates are vaccinated. And that'll be a good question to put towards the Prime Minister. Sir, to your knowledge, can you give us a number of how many people your candidates are vaccinated for sure? Have at least one job.
Yeah, will there be any preference to get them vaccinated because there's no date called? I'm curious to how this will all work out, honestly.
Especially post-August. August 14th, what happens? I don't expect this third wave to over between now and August 14th. No. But what happens on the day of August 14th when the Prime Minister says that there's no more emergency, right? The numbers are still high, and there's no rules or laws that can be said that will govern what's happening now. See, I just don't know, and no one is having that conversation. So I'm assuming that when the Prime Minister addresses the country the next time, that he will give some outline for us to expect come August 14th, that we can start pondering and deliberating over to say, okay, I see what's going to happen. So I'm expecting that.
Yeah, and I think, listen, groups of 5, I wonder if let's say, for example, the Elizabeth constituency, right? If you have groups of, they said your team of 5, are they thinking the team of 5 that comes together and I take this section of Elizabeth and then the next team of 5, that section of Elizabeth? I'm not thinking a team of 5 for the entire constituency. Maybe it's a team of 5 that...
I'm thinking the former where different teams of 5 go throughout the constituency and campaign.
Yeah. And so then there will be the question of distancing. So I don't think it is as restrictive. I think the restriction is the vaccination part of it. And
I'm assuming that all those teams of 5 got to meet someplace to have some deep. So that's something to consider.
Yeah, and look, there's no more groups of 10. So teams of 5 are fine. You can't be in groups of 10, but teams of 5 campaigning. I thought that was interesting. Everything else is 10 and under, but for the campaigning side of it is groups of 5. Look, I think too it's important because if you're going to someone's door, being vaccinated doesn't mean that you're COVID free.
No.
So if you're going to someone's house, you're knocking on their door, I appreciate the smaller numbers. Mm-hmm. And I want everyone, please, we all have to be safe. So if folks come in and campaigning, you tell them stand down that way.
Yes.
And let's talk from way over here. Downwind too.
Yes.
Downwind too.
Wear your mask.
Wear your mask, socially distance. This is the concern for me. And as we wrap up, CA, all of that said, I will say this. The government had whatever restrictions came, apart from the odd ones, there's some odd ones, because the spa one still is just very random to me. I'm not, even though I love my Bob, just random. Of all of those things, you go down the list, and the spa one is the most random.
Yes.
Of all of the options on the list. It is just the most random. And they're talking about spas, but what about persons who do massage therapy privately? Like, how do you monitor that?
Mm-hmm.
When they go in home?
Or gyms. And gyms offer services, that similar to spas.
Yeah. I mean, and, so that to me is the most random and very much eye-catching. I'm watching that, but that makes no sense to me. That one should be left off. Or if it's on, there be some sort of stipulation like you're doing with the campaigning. Just say that everyone who works there must be vaccinated, because you're setting precedents even with the campaigning one. You're setting precedents with how, and all they have to do is be fully vaccinated. So you're showing favoritism for fully vaccinated persons in certain areas. But then you're looking at a space or a business and you're saying that you can't be fully vaccinated to function. All of these things cause very much a little bit of confusion and wondering how do we come to these decisions, and asking why that. It seems very random, and wondering when is the benefit of vaccines versus it not being. We're not asking for people to go into movie theaters, 33% to be vaccinated. We're not asking for people, but you can't dine indoors, right? But when the people go into movie theaters, and I want my businesses to function. If persons are going to movie theaters, they got to eat their popcorn. They got to take down their masks. Can't you do the same for restaurants indoor? Then, so this is where I say that confusion comes. But then in the hotels, none of that matters, because the hotels are different territory, just like Albany. They're all different territories, just like gated communities, all got different laws and rules. So, but I want people to really, 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 really know that you have to do what you can in your own personal strength and power to protect the people you love. Please sanitize. Please social distance. If folks don't live in your house, then they shouldn't be in your house now. Consider this as the beginning of the pandemic when we were all scared, not fatigued, just scared. I don't want you to live in fear, but I want you to know we don't have the tools to help you if you get sick, if your mommy gets sick. We don't have it. The hospital ain't got no beds. And I'm sorry. I want people to get it. This ain't even about us who are going to be okay. This is about the folks who won't be okay in your life. So I'm just saying. All right, you get the final word, buddy.
When we get a vaccine, go get vaccinated.
I'm with you on that. That's a word. Someone says, Mrs. Black, I was never afraid from this came to play. I ain't scared for me, y'all. I'm afraid for the people I love, and knowing what the that thing is so real, Cecil. Please let folks know. The comorbidities thing, it ain't fake.
Mm-hmm.
It's not fake talk. If you have the comorbidities that they've been talking about, such as diabetes, hypertension, if you have lupus or heart issues, these things, if your immune system is broken down because of cancer, listen, this ain't no joke. I know it. I've lived it. I've seen it work. And the very people who they said would catch it, if they catch it, they'd be sick, are the very same people in my life who ended up in the hospital. And if not but for the grace of God, that I knew the people that I knew, the doctors that I knew, the nurses that I knew, my people would have been lost in a system called PMH. Amen.
But I'm hoping that for the future also that you'll lobby to get some more data. I want to know the recent people who have died. Which hospitals were they in? Where did they used to work? I need some demographics so I can understand what I'm dealing with. So I'm hoping that you push that issue and continue to get those questions pushed forward.
We call the D word data. That's the 4-letter word of the year. No, don't curse the government by asking for data. You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. C.A. Nuri. Have a great weekend, buddy. I gotta go now. I gotta go get my last massage.
There you go.
See you later, bud. You're listening to the Hit Back with Nahaja Black. Everyone take care. Have a great weekend.
You have to be strong in today's world. Keep your focus and what you believe in.